This might be a movie and a television channel where I just talk about that stuff on a daily basis, but I also love playing video games, and that doesn't mean that I can't talk about my top 10 favorite video games from the year 2022. Yes, this year. Hi, my name is Zach. If you're new here, thank you so much for clicking on this. I typically only talk movies and TV, but I still want to talk some games on my channel this year because I also run a channel with some great friends on YouTube called Critics Play Games. So if you do want to check out more gaming content from me, that is going to be the channel for you guys. We try to upload at least every single Friday with a new video essay, a ranking, or a podcast episode where we discuss gaming on a weekly basis there. But this is, again, kind of one of those things where I do want to talk a little bit more personable. I didn't want to just put my top 10 list over there because, again, there's like 4 of us that work on that channel, and all of us are going to have different top 10 lists. Let me know down below what your guys' favorite games you played this year were. What were your top 10? And again, just as a reminder, I don't play every single game every year. This is the first year in a while where I've played a lot of games, but I didn't play every game, so some of your favorites won't be on here, but please let me know what I should play, so that way maybe I can go back and redo this list later down the road. But without further ado, let's get into the list right now. Before we get into this list, I do have one honorable mention because this is the game that isn't technically new, but it is also not one that is completely old because it did get a giant update and a giant add-on that kind of, for me, made it refreshing and new, and that is Destiny 2. Destiny 2, I've been kind of off the kilter a bit. I did a whole video essay on this, so I'm not going to go too into this, but the new add-on they put in this year, I was absolutely sucked into, and I can't wait for the next one. So if you've fallen off Destiny, I actually feel like this game is actually worth your time now. Woo! And intercutting this into this video for a quick little thing. Now, my number 10 is Mario Super Strikers, spoiler alert, but I fucked up and I should have put High on Life in here. I completely forgot that I literally just beat that game and I thoroughly enjoyed the hell out of it. I created this list before I had beaten the game, didn't think I would beat it, but I actually literally was at the end. So as a thing, High on Life is in this place. I thoroughly loved this game. I thought it was such a blast, and I honestly hope we do get a sequel because while it starts out pretty simplistic, the humor is there. There's a lot of fun. Sometimes it gets a little bit repetitive. I could not stop laughing, and I found it to be one of the most entertaining games I've played this year. But without further ado, let's get back to the video. I guess you get one added bonus game to talk about. But with that said, at my number 10, we have Mario Super Strikers. I love the Mario sports games, specifically soccer and basketball, but we haven't gotten a basketball one in a while, so jumping into the soccer one, I have always been a major fan of the soccer games, and I was so excited to see that we were getting a new installment on the Switch. For me, this was a total blast. Is it as great as I remember the GameCube one version being? No, and I think some of the gear systems are kind of dumb, and I hate how it works overall, because for me, I just like not playing with the gear. I like just when it comes down to your total out skill. But I gotta say, I've had a blast playing this game. I probably once a week, I'll just pop it in, play a couple matches, and go with what I need to do, because I do find this to be one of the more engaging soccer games. And when you get all the moves down in the sets and simply the controls and how each teammate works, that's when you work. And when you find a team that you can actually really jive with and really make work, that's when Mario Super Strikers works to its best. And I actually think this is a lot of fun that is kind of went under the radar this year. Speaking of another under the radar overhated game, that is at my number 9, the Callisto Protocol. Now, I've been really excited for this game, but I was also a little bit nervous, maybe thinking, okay, this could be a little bit, not as great as everyone's saying it out to be, and how much it's greatly looking. Now, I will say this is not a perfect game. I completely overly understand that. I don't think this is a game that's going to be for everyone, but the way that I actually kind of infuse this game is that this is Dead Space meets Evil Within. When those first 2 games came out, they were not the most loved or beloved, and there were a lot of issues. Dead Space had a lot of repetitiveness to it, and I'm hoping the remake fixes some of that. But you have Evil Within, which for me was very clunky, and some of the story was a little bit messy, but I love that game weird enough, and same thing with the original Dead Space. And Callisto Protocol kind of is a mix of both of those, with the dark natures of the horror and the sci-fi realms all kind of put together. This is a spiritual successor to Dead Space from the original creator, who kind of infused some new ideas in here. Is it messed up? Yeah. Is some of the combat a little bit janky? Yeah, but I kind of dug it. And after overall the new melee combat that it kind of puts in here, while it's kind of like, at first you're like, this is the most terrible thing I've ever played, once you get the hang of it, it's actually kind of a blast. And overall, I really liked the Callisto Protocol. I liked where the story went, and I can't wait to see what they do next. Hopefully, they get to do something next. I know they're doing story add-on, so I'm curious to see where that goes, but sequel-wise, there's a lot here, and there's a lot of interesting developments by the end of the game where I'm like, all right, where this ended, I hope we get another one because I think it could be like a Dead Space 2 scenario. Speaking about sequels, at my number 8, we have Dying Light 2. Now, the first Dying Light, I actually was really late on the boat to because I was so over the zombie genre. Dead Island for me was kind of a disappointment. I'm not really looking forward to Dead Island 2 because I don't think it's going to be great. But Dying Light 2 was a game that looked awesome in a lot of different realms. And for me, I actually thought it was more fun than the first one. Now, is the story better? In some departments, sure. Is the combat better? In some departments, sure. But the reason I really dug this one was like the more verticality and all these giant skyscrapers that I feel like we got more in this one. And I actually do like that they took more of like the melee combat to that next level. For me, there's something about the RPG element to Dying Light 2 that actually hooked me harder than the first one did. And I know I am in the minority on this one. I know a lot of people loved the first one way more than this one. And a lot of people had issues. But for me, I had a total blast. I almost 100% of the game. And I'm excited to go back through once I find time to actually play the add-ons coming out for Dying Light 2 because again, I enjoyed this game immensely. And now at my number 7, we have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. I loved this game and I love old school beat 'em up fighter games, and specifically the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle ones were a big one that I would play at the arcade, and there's some of the ones that I still hinge back and go back because we have this old retro arcade machine downstairs and I love playing it. I love playing the old ones, but the Shredder's Revenge brought that memory and that nostalgia back, and actually getting to play it was beautiful. I mean, the graphics, the 8-bit nature is all stunning. The music's great, but also the boss battles are something that surprised me and how much fun I had playing this. Like, I just kept overly playing and playing and playing. You have your favorite levels you go through. You have your favorite bosses you fight. And for me, the more friends you get into this, the more and more fun it is. If you haven't played this one yet, it's free on Game Pass. You might as well download it. My number 6, we have Modern Warfare 2. Now, Call of Duty for me would not have been on this list the last few years. I would have made any excuse to not put a Call of Duty game on this list, but I play each and every one of the installments. I have a big nostalgia for Call of Duty. I've played every single one, like I mentioned. And Modern Warfare, the last remake was really good, but the original Modern Warfare trilogy, specifically 1, and very much specifically 2, which 2 is my favorite one of all time, this one had a lot of high hopes for me. And I think Infinity Ward and everyone at Call of Duty really much knew what they had to put in here. Now, mixing in Warzone 2.0, I'm not going to put in here because I think it's absolutely janky and terrible. I do not like the new Warzone. I think it's awful. But Modern Warfare 2, I'm really giving this one. Like, I really dug this one. I really like the campaign. I like some of the twists and turns and the new natures they kind of put in there. There's one mission in there where you're pretty much just one knife and just trying to survive. It's a very unique mission, kind of frustrating at times, but really engaging and very suspenseful, which I dug. We don't get a lot of things like that, so I like the mission variety that they actually did within the campaign. But when it comes down to the multiplayer, there's so much to do. I'm not a big fan of all the maps. I will say that, but I also haven't been a big fan of a lot of Call of Duty maps for quite a while. But I love the fine-tuning, the attachments, the level weaponing, how it makes you actually have to use different guns to get all the attachments into 100% everything. There's certain elements in there where I don't play a lot of multiplayer games too often now, but Modern Warfare 2 is one that anytime my friends are on playing, I'm ready to play too. And maybe I'm not as great as when I was younger, but I still can thoroughly enjoy the hell out of this game. Now, getting into my top 5, at my number 5, we have Pokemon Scarlet. I just beat this game and I loved it. I have not loved the Pokemon game in quite a while, and I say that as someone who also has played a majority of them. I didn't play the last remake, I didn't play Arceus, but I did play the other ones before that. And for me, my favorite Pokemon game was Pokemon Silver, but I arguably have to say I think Pokemon Scarlet has some of the most intriguing ideas that we have seen in the Pokemon world yet. Now, putting aside, there's a lot of bugs in this game. There's a lot of janky stuff in here, specifically with the frame rate when you're trying to play on a TV instead of in handheld. It's not great. It falls apart quite a bit sometimes where you're glitching and all this stuff. With all the glitching, it never got in the way of me in my enjoyment. And that's saying something. And this game would be higher if it wasn't for those specific elements. Honestly, like if it wasn't for the dropping of frame rates, this would have probably been in my top 3. I love this game immensely, and I do think it is one of the best Pokemon games in a while. It's not perfect, but it is one that, with having this open world to do whatever you want, you get to choose where to go. That's what I loved. And I always found myself countlessly finding different things to do, different things to explore, different Pokemon to find. And that was probably my thing that I really much enjoyed the most in this. And it very much reminded me of Elden Ring, another game you'll probably hear about on this list, where it was just there's something to always do and something to always look at and something to always explore, and you're always constantly finding secrets. And then you're on TikTok or YouTube and you find, oh, there's this thing you can do, oh, there's this thing you can do. What the hell? There's so much you can do, and I was very surprised by that. At number 3, we have Horizon Forbidden West. Now, Horizon Forbidden West for me is a game that is better than the first one in almost every way. Story-wise, I was more engaged. I love the new dynamics that they kind of add to more of the sci-fi realm of things coming down from the Earth. Where did things go? Where did everyone go that were on Earth beforehand? All these different elements. There's a whole backstory now that I'm very interested and fascinated in. And wherever they decide to go, whether it's a DLC or specifically a new game, I will be there first day, because I think Horizon is an excellent made game. The graphics are, like I said, The Last of Us and this are hand in hand. What is the better graphics? We could argue all day which one has the better graphics. I just was truly stunned by each and every single frame in Horizon Forbidden West, and specifically the difficulty spike in this game and what you really need to learn to get through different things. This is a game that is not, like, you can't just rush through it. You do need to take your time, and I find myself loving that Guerrilla Games is doing games like this, specifically other than Killzone, because while we're getting the Monster Hunters in the whole universe of gaming, Monster Hunter for me doesn't have a story that makes me attached to it. Horizon Forbidden West does, and I love Aloy as the main character, and I love the characters and the side characters you meet along the way. Before we get to my top 2, clearly we know what those top 2 are probably going to be. I do want to make sure to remind you guys to go hit that like and subscribe button on this channel, as well as Critics Play Games. You can find the link down below. Tons of great video essays over there. I think a lot of you guys will enjoy those, as well as make sure to leave your thoughts down below on your top 10 favorite games of the year. What games did you play? Which games did I miss? I know I missed Sifu. I know I missed Gotham Knights, which I didn't hear was great, so I haven't played it yet. But I know there's quite a few that I missed. I did actually just get a bunch for Christmas, so I will start some of those, like the Marvels, Midnight Suns. I'm really excited to start, as well as Sifu as well. So thank you so much again for watching this. Let's get back to the video. At my number 2 now, we have Elden Ring. Now, take this as what you will. I think the two games of the year for this year were some of the best games that I've ever played in my entire life. I think Elden Ring, I beat that game 4 times. I love that game. I 100%ed it, platinumed it, did almost, I mean, single thing that I could find. Every dungeon, every boss, I killed every single thing. And I'm ready for the DLC. Do whatever you need to do. This is the first From Software game where I was actually like, I'm going to beat this game to however I can. I'm going to learn how to play this game. I want to learn how to play this game. And when I'd get my ass kicked, I'd go and do something else. I would farm. I'd do what I need to do. I would play the game how I wanted to. And I love that because I loved Sekiro. I love Bloodborne. I love Dark Souls 3. The first 2 Dark Souls are fine. Demon Souls, I still just cannot get into it. But the world, the artistry, everything that you would ever imagine within these games from Software is just times 10 in Elden Ring. And I think this is one of the best games ever made, just purely on a gameplay standpoint, and truly enough how much I loved it. And I really was surprised to see how much I did love Elden Ring, because I was not expecting that. I expected to really like it, but the hype was real. I wish the story was a little bit stronger. I wish they would have a little bit more narrative stronger in their games. I know that's not what they're used to, but there's so much mythology, so much things built up in there. That's something that I hope to see in the future. But again, Elden Ring is, and arguably I understand why it won Game of the Year. But my personal Game of the Year is at my number 1, God of War Ragnarok. The God of War has always been a strong franchise for me. I've always enjoyed that. Original trilogy was excellent. I love the PSP installment, and of course, God of War 2018 was one of the best games of that year, if not one of my favorite games. But Ragnarok is better than all of those in every single way. Besides some of the bosses, I wish they would go back to some of the more bombastic bosses from God of War 3, but I understand why they're not. The story told in here is one of the best stories that has ever been told in a video game, for me at least, since The Last of Us Part 2, but when we look at gaming franchises, what this game does in elevating the original trilogy of God of War, elevating 2018, and then finally going into Ragnarok, when you play that entire storyline, there is so much to love, so much to understand. And I love just the subtleties of Kratos. Like seeing this hardened man and seeing him smile or feel proud of his son or feeling proud of people. And the ending of this game, the last 10 minutes of cutscenes just ripped my heart out with the emotion that it really gave me between a father and a son, and as well as one man who was always beaten down and told that he couldn't be something, and he ends up becoming that thing. And I love it. I love it, and I also love when you beat the game how you can go do all these different things and there's more dialogue that adds to the story. I wanted to keep playing this game. I did not want it to end. When I had platinum it and I had nothing else to do, I felt sad because there's no new game plus mode. I wanted to relive this story. I wanted to go back through it, and I wanted to cry my eyes out. I loved this game, and I love the emotional subtlety that it gave me in every single department and way. This is the best game for me of 2022, and it's my favorite game that I've played since 2020. This is truly, when you look at what a masterpiece is crafted as, it's this one. It's one that takes risks, lets you play as other characters. Those other characters might have slower points, but those slower points all add to the meat of the story, and by the time you get to the very end, you're like, this is awesome. I have no idea where they'll go next. I have predictions, I have theories, but genuinely, if this was it, this is the best that they did. And I love Santa Monica for that. So congrats to them on getting my game of the year. And thank you so much, everyone, for watching this video. You guys are really all the best. Again, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Comment down below your guys' thoughts. More gaming videos coming up over on that other channel. And more top 10 lists for the rest of the year coming up on this channel. We got top 10 movies of the year, top 10 worst movies of the year, and top 10 most overlooked movies, overhated movies, things like that, underrated films to talk about. So thank you so much again for watching this. And of course, until next time, stay classy.